What up, Wizards? It is Dev from The Place, sitting right in the middle of the couch. And if you're a veteran of the channel, you know what that means. We have to talk witches and warlocks. But first, real quick shout out to Stuart. Met you at the Quick Trip the other day at like 3:30 in the morning. You said you've been watching with your son for the past like 5 years, and now maybe he'll actually believe you when you tell him that you met me at the Quick Trip at like 3:30 in the morning. So just again, quick shout out to Stuart. It was nice meeting you, man. But y'all, on to the video, because I've got a lot to yammer on about today, but I think it's something you'll be interested in. And to be honest, I'm more interested in the community, or at least my community's take on what I'm about to say, than I am in actually saying it in the first place. But don't worry, like I said, I've got a lot to say on the subject. Now, I think the most salacious way I could put this, onto the actual video finally, is, hey, remember like a month ago when they banned like 7 cards in Standard, and it was a lot of cards, and we were all pretty happy about that, or at least most of us. Well, the question is, should we actually have banned 10 cards instead? Yeah, whoa, hey, now I know I might sound a little bit weird here. Do I sound weird? I don't want to, because I know we're only like 2.5 weeks into Edge of Eternity Standard right now, and things may seem relatively stable to a lot of folks out there. Kind of depends on how much Arena you play or how much you're checking the MTGO League and challenge standings and stuff like that. But I actually think that even though we're still relatively early in EOE season, and I've got counter arguments against what I'm about to say, I still think we might have a little bit of a problem on our hands. And I can imagine that a lot of you watching, whether you're a wonk about like MTGO standings or not, you probably know the card I'm going to mention. Is it going to be Vivi or is it going to be Soul Cauldron? Well, yes, is the answer to your question. Now, I will say, back when we had that first round of bannings, as we were kind of inching towards them a little bit, a lot of people were saying that they thought Vivi Ornithir should be banned, but probably wouldn't be banned, and I guess those people give them a gold star and a blue ribbon, because they were absolutely right. I deserve those things as well, because I think a lot of us called that this card was a bit too new to make a lot of judgments about. We didn't know if it was going to take over the format once the other bans were made, but now we see that it is everywhere. The card's kind of a little bit everywhere, but to be honest, I think the real culprit here is Agatha's Soul Cauldron instead of Vivi. Now, would Vivi still be a powerful creature without Soul Cauldron in the format? Yeah, absolutely. And there's even a deck that doesn't play Soul Cauldron, but it does play Vivi and Astrologian's Planisphere and a bunch of like ops and, sleight of hands and stuff like that. And it's a pretty fine magical deck, whatever, but it's nowhere near the level of the Agatha Soul Cauldron Vivi deck, which, as I record this, we just saw Arena Championship 9 go on, and I'm pretty sure it's like 54% of the decks registered for that event are Vivi Soul Cauldron decks, and 46% are other, which is probably the greatest argument that I'm going to have in this video for why one or both of these cards should probably not be in Standard. Right. Again, I think that if you're going to ban anything, it should probably be Soul Cauldron, because any deck can play it. There's a couple of other busted decks that play it beyond the Vivi deck, but I don't necessarily want to kneecap like an Insidious Roots or a Ketramos deck or anything like that. I just think I'm okay with those decks dying for Vivi Soul Cauldron sins, because again, any deck can play Soul Cauldron. The fact that it's in the format and in so many main decks actually kicks a lot of graveyard strategies out of the format, and you can think that's a good thing or not. I personally don't. And maybe the most egregious sin of Soul Cauldron is that, again, if they just get a Vivi on the table, they can make mana with it once a turn, and that's cool. They can even play a second Vivi and make more mana off of that in the same turn, and these are fun tricks, but the fact of the matter is, if they have a Vivi in the yard and Soul Cauldron and like 3 creatures out, then suddenly all of their creatures in that same turn can use Vivi's ability, and that can sometimes lead to burst of like 15 mana on turn freaking 4, and that is a little bit harder to handle than just like a Vivi being on the table in the first place. And if they do have a Soul Cauldron, then sure, you can remove the Vivi. That actually just means that now all of their creatures are Vivis, because you put that thing in the yard for them and they can Soul Cauldron it away. So again, I think that Soul Cauldron has less counterplay overall. It's an artifact. It's not as removable as a creature. It turns on a lot of other decks. And again, if it were just Vivi we had to worry about, we'd have to just remove the Vivi and it'd be fine. Now we can remove the Vivi and it gets worse. It's horrible. We probably have to do something about Soul Cauldron specifically. Yeah, I know. I think that a lot of people are still going to think like Vivi is the real issue here, but I hate to keep kicking the can down the road the same way we kind of did in the first ban announcement, right? But I think that Vivi is still a pretty new Magic card, whereas Soul Cauldron, on the other hand, has had a couple of years to hang around and bang around and has been a part of other decks in Standard. And I think that if it made its exit now, it'd be a little bit early, but it wouldn't be nearly as early as Vivi. If we banned Vivi and we only got to play with it for a couple of months and it only experienced like one Standard season or whatever, I feel like that would not be as good as just cutting loose the card that's already seen plenty of Standard play in its life cycle. Overall, and back to this point, I guess, when you get to the point that you have, 54%, the majority, like a plurality at least, of decks in an entire event are the same deck, then you probably have to do something about one or the other, or both, again, of the marquee cards in that deck. I mean, like, there are other great decks in Standard right now that don't have Vivi or Soul Cauldron in them, Dimir is a great deck, and I guess if I had my druthers, I would probably do something about like Deep Cavern Bat or Kaito or Enduring Curiosity or something. I'm also sick of seeing the Dimir deck, but it's nowhere near as close to the ridiculous dominance of this deck. And honestly, I do have to say that it gets pretty aggravating, like playing on Arena and getting like, oh, this fun deck and that fun deck, and then you play against Vivi Soul Cauldron, they smash your face in on turn 3. So some of the stuff this deck can do are pretty egregious, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I honestly wouldn't be too sad to see one or the other of these parts go anytime soon. And they do have like an emergency ban window that opens up right after every set comes out, and we might still be within that window for Edge of Eternities, but I'm not sure with the release schedule nowadays, but one way or the other, I'm not saying that they are going to, or necessarily even that they should do something about Agatha's Soul Cauldron. I guess I am. Don't be a coward. I would be very happy if I woke up tomorrow and Agatha's Soul Cauldron was banned. It seems like it would be for the health of the environment. But this again is where sort of I want to know your opinion more than I want to know my own. I already know my own, but I think that there's going to be a portion of the community that's like, it hasn't been long enough in EOE Standard, you're a big fat crybaby, all the hurtful stuff, and then there's going to be other people who are like, yes, get rid of this card. And I just kind of want to know, like, who's winning, like who is more in the majority on that? Or again, are we at sort of a plurality? I get to use that word twice in the same video. I mean, if you want to know how bad it is right now in terms of the Vivi decks, do load up MTGO. Just type in MTGO deck list on a search engine. It'll take you right to the page for August as I record this. But if you just select any random challenge or any random league day, you will see that the vast majority of the decks are all Agatha Soul Cauldron Vivi decks. Especially if you go to a challenge, it's weird how the top 16 will be like 10 Vivi Soul Cauldron decks, and that's on any given day you will achieve that result, and that is a bit much. I think we can all agree that that is a bit much. But I guess to add a little bit of spice to the video, I said, what if we banned 10 cards? And I think we're at 9 right now because I've only really brought up Vivi and Soul Cauldron. So what do you guys think about this? I saw a lot of people saying that maybe they should ban Storm Chaser's talent in the lead up to this last round of bans. There were speculations about a lot of different cards. Vivi was one, and Storm Chasers was another one. Now, they did take out This Town Ain't Big Enough, and they took out like Hopeless Nightmare, which is probably a good ban from the Pixie decks. But right now, the Pixie decks are number 2 in the format. Just, well, a pretty wide chasm between the Vivi Soul Cauldron decks, meta share-wise, and the Pixie decks. But they are definitely number 2. And if you did something about Soul Cauldron or Vivi or both, these would be the best decks in the environment. And they're both really annoying to play against and fairly dominant. So I guess my question there is banning Hopeless Nightmare in this town enough, or should we maybe ban Storm Chaser's talent like people were suggesting in the first place, or maybe even just Nurturing Pixie? The deck would still have a bunch of 2 mana things that can come down and bounce stuff, but maybe the secret sauce to the deck is that Nurturing Pixie only costs 1 mana, and it makes a lot of your play more efficient. It lets you do like Cosmic Grand Zenith and cast 2 spells in the same turn a lot more efficiently and all that stuff. So maybe the actual answer is to ban Pixie itself and let the deck have its 2 mana options, just to nerf it slightly. I'm not sure what the deal is there, and I'm not sure if we should ban anything out of that deck, to be honest. Right? I'm never sure if we should ban anything at all, right? But at the same time, I feel like the community's a lot more amenable to bans than they were just a couple of years ago. I would get on YouTube and make a video like this, and people would be like, "Oh, you spineless wank! He can't deal with a card in standard. Oh, he wants Wilderness Reclamation ban. He wants the Fairy Time Raveler ban. What a loser! Let's point and laugh." I feel like there's been a tide shift. I was really surprised to see like how many people were very happy about this round of bannings. I saw almost no one salting or malding or crying or anything like that at this last round of bannings, and it kind of makes me wonder if maybe because people play more Arena now than ever, if, again, they'd be a little bit more amenable. I get to use that word twice too, to some of these bans, and I just kind of want to know how you guys would feel about not only like Vivi, Soul Cauldron, either one of those can go, right? I don't think too many people would be upset, but what about Pixie? What about, Storm Chaser's Talent? What about, Kaito, Enduring Curiosity, even Deep Cavern Bat? I don't know if that one has to go, to be honest. I like Deep Cavern Bat, but I'm biased. But in any case, y'all, again, Ziggy just fell off the couch. He was cleaning himself, and then he started biting himself, and now he's falling off the couch. I'm sure it was all very comedic. I wish I'd have caught it. It would have been the best part of the video. Because otherwise, it's just me yelling. But again, that's mostly the crux of the video. I just want to know how everyone feels. Am I right to think that people are more happy about bans nowadays? Or are there still like a contingent of people that are like, no, never? You know what I mean? I haven't really heard from those people lately. But anyway, y'all, just let me know how you felt about all the opinions. I know this was kind of a short, snippy one, but I think that there's a lot to be said when, the weekend comes and suddenly a deck is more than half of the field of one of the larger tournaments of the season, right? We probably have to at least address that in some way. So hit me up with the thoughts and opinions down there in the comment section. It's really why I turned the camera on today, is to kind of get a gauge of how everyone feels. Is it too early to be talking about bans again? We just had bans. We just had a rotation. A new set just came out. I feel weird doing it, but again, I also, routinely, religiously, really check the MTGO league and challenge results every single day. I look at Melee every single day. I even look at the little arena page for decks that got 6 wins in a row, more or less every single day, and every day it's Soul Cauldron, Soul Cauldron, Soul Cauldron, Soul Cauldron, all the way down. Turtles all the way down, except the Turtles are Agatha Soul Cauldron, and it's honestly getting a little concerning. And I was trying to brush it off until, again, the weekend came around, Arena Championship 9 hit, and we got the meta share that we got. So, again, I think if there was ever a time to talk about it, it's now. Hit me up with your thoughts, feelings, and opinions, and emotions down there in the comments. But do all the other YouTube stuff on the way out. If you want to support the channel, we got a Patreon, just $1 a month to get in, and you can vote on what content we're doing. Right now, there is a hard-fought battle between Edge of Eternity Standard tier list and, 2 decks that we got right now. The 4-color Weapons Manufacturing deck and the Tannic Big Red deck. All of those are neck and neck. So if you want to affect the course of YouTube history and tilt the scales one way or the other, go over to the Patreon, link in the description. But you can also like the video. That's always an option. It doesn't really take any money or effort, so that would mean a lot to me. You can also subscribe if you haven't done it yet. Trying to get to 138,000. We are not too far away. So help out with that if you can. And that's about it, Ski Lewitsky. I'm Dev from the Blaze. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.